one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it because you can.
This story comes to us from CBS News. When police officers responded to a disturbance call at a home in Tremonton, Utah on Sunday, August 17th, a man there immediately started shooting at them. Two officers were killed, a sheriff's deputy was wounded, and a police dog was also hospitalized with injuries. It was an ambush. Mayor Lyle Holmgren said the suspect's intention was to cause harm to as many police officers and public servants as possible. The shooting was the latest in a growing trend of ambush attacks against police officers nationwide. Shootings against police have jumped 60% since 2018, according to data tracked by the Fraternal Order of Police. That's a law enforcement member organization that's been tracking the shootings since 2015. And the percentage of ambush-style attacks is steadily growing. At least 56 law enforcement officers have been shot in 45 ambush-style attacks in 2025 through July 31st. More than 28% of total officers shot, according to data collected by that organization and analyzed by CBS News. 5 years earlier, just over 20% of police officers shot in the line of duty were struck in ambush-style attacks. Now, the Fraternal Order of Police's national president, Patrick Yos, wrote a letter to Congress in March advocating for the Protect and Serve Act, which would create a new federal law against knowingly assaulting law enforcement. He said the deliberate attacks are contributing to a crisis in recruiting the next generation of officers and holding on to those who are currently serving. In July of this year, after a week of violence in which 10 police officers were shot, 3 fatally, Yos wrote, "How many more officers must die before Congress acts? Our men and women in law enforcement deserve better. Often what seem like routine calls are the precursors to planned bloodshed, like what happened to police officers in Fargo, North Dakota, when they responded to a car accident on July 14th, 2023. The call had come in from dispatch. A BMW sport utility vehicle crashed into a Mazda on 25th Street in South Fargo, one of the city's busiest streets. Now, newly minted Fargo police officer Tyler Hawes and his training officer Andrew Dotas headed to the scene to assist and interview the drivers and passengers involved. Right away, Hawes, who graduated from the Fargo Police Academy 7 weeks earlier, radioed dispatch for a second officer. He figured they could use some extra help speaking to witnesses and controlling traffic. Officers Zachary Robinson and Jake Wallen arrived in about 10 minutes. Hawes, who attended the police academy with Wallen, recalled his friend and colleague asking as soon as he got there, "What do you need?" Less than 2 minutes later, they were ambushed. Wallen, who was 23, was killed, and Hawes and Dotas were injured when a man named Mohammed Barakat opened fire from his 2006 Mercury Grand Marquis in a surprise attack using an Anderson manufacturing rifle with a Bushnell scope. One other person at the scene, Carly Coswick, was wounded, shot twice on the sidewalk as she tried to flee. One witness, Kim Hauger Sr., heard what he said felt like the sound of a machine gun. Hauger told investigators he saw 2 police officers moving from the parking lot toward the boulevard and then saw the officers fall to the ground. Robinson radioed dispatch saying, "Shots have been fired. Send everyone." And that was before opening fire on the suspect. He says, I shot like 4 times at him, and at that point, he reloaded, killing Barakat. Anyway, the suspect had nothing to do with the vehicle crash. Investigators later found Barakat had been searching online for details on mass shootings, loaded his vehicle with rifles, 2 tactical vests, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and a live grenade. When he spotted the police officers, he decided to turn his deadly weapons on them, joining a steadily rising list of shooters who have deliberately ambushed law enforcement. The FBI's Criminal Justice Information Services Division launched an investigative study in 2025 in response to the troubling trend. Federal agents have begun interviewing offenders in a first of its kind effort to piece together what can be learned about the rise in attacks on law enforcement officers nationwide. Prior to the recent study, there has been scant research about ambush attacks against law enforcement and why these are happening. But one earlier study from the International Association of Chiefs of Police found 68% of ambushes were considered spontaneous, like the 2023 Fargo ambush, and 32% were planned. The report published in 2014 analyzed data from 1990 to 2012, a year when 6 law enforcement officers were killed in ambushes. According to the IACP, an ambush is defined by 4 components: an element of surprise, concealment of the assailant, suddenness of the attack, and a lack of provocation. Ambushes can be classified as either premeditated or spontaneous. The FBI released a report in 2018 showing ambush attacks on law enforcement doubled from 1996 to 2016. It found that while fewer police officers were being killed overall, surprise attacks in which officers are killed were steadily increasing. The FBI's data counts officers killed in ambushes, while the Fraternal Order of Police data counts all officers shot. There was a large spike in ambush-style attacks in 2023 when 138 officers were shot. Texas has had more recent incidents than any other state so far this year. 8 officers there have been shot in 7 ambush-style attacks. It's followed by California and then Ohio, each with 4 ambush-style attacks. FBI law enforcement operations specialist Kevin Harris has been researching ambush attacks for several years, and he trains police around the country on how to prepare and respond. He said, just speaking in general, it's been an upward trend that seems to just continue upward and has been for the last several years. He describes an ambush as an instance where an officer is lured into a place where they can be attacked. His training sessions involve analyzing and discussing different ambush attacks that have occurred in recent years. Harris said he wants officers to know they've always got to have that situational awareness. That's why they're pissed off when we come up to record. They're like, I can't watch you and do this. I try to tell officers, look, you've got to find that fine line between being hypervigilant and dying of a heart attack at a young age, Harris said. The trauma of these attacks ripples through families, police departments, and communities around the country. Those lives are impacted forever. 2 years have passed since the Fargo, North Dakota attack, and the officers who survived can now speak about what happened to them that day. And it goes down from there. It's kind of a lengthy story. It just keeps going down. But you can read it if YouTube allows me to put the link in the description box. And some of my news links have been there, so you can check. But like I said, it's weird. YouTube is, I'll do it. I know I post a link, and then people will ask me about the story. I'll go back and look for a hyperlink, and it's not there. But I digress. The bottom line, for officers to have better relations with the community and maybe lower these ambush attacks, one of the ways to do that is just to be a people person. Have a public servant mind, or a public servant attitude when you're out there with the public. Instead of acting like he said, try not to be hyper vigilant. Instead of saying, I'm a law enforcement officer, see my badge, obey me, or I'm taking you, and the guy's like, whoa, what the hell did I do? You didn't do anything, but the cop just thinks he got, they think they got to shout directives at anybody standing by. Don't come on the street. Hey, you, don't come over here. Yeah, well, don't kick your cat. Don't punch your dog, You kind of get what I'm saying, right? But one of the ways to improve community relations, if you're a police officer, is just to have the mindset of a public servant. Hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to serve you. You know, um, it, I don't know if that'll fix things or if it'll correct things, but it'll definitely improve your community or improve where you're at if you're just nicer. And I know that's not 365 days a year because police officers are human beings and us humans, we have off days. You know what I mean? There are days when you're just off and you just don't feel good. Maybe your stress hits you and maybe you're rude one day. That happens. But when you get these reports of these cops it's the same cop over and over and over. It's like Deputy Mike Rose, who left the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. In fact, he left California. He's out in Clarksville, Tennessee. Thank God we got rid of him. But that guy, I had several videos of him acting like an ass, you know? Um, and then, he's talking about how, well, I'm stalking him and I'm trying to make him look bad on YouTube. And then a story came out of some other guy who had a problem with him. And I thought, well, I'm not the only one that has a problem with this guy. Obviously, somebody else has a problem with him now. And it was Real News Media that did the story. Real News Media did the story on him, and he had a problem with another guy. It wasn't me. It wasn't even my video. And so my point is, there's a fine line and there's a difference between just having a bad day and you're rude to somebody and then you kind of go, I was just having a bad day. There's a difference between that and just being an asshole. Okay? Like Rose, he's just an asshole. He's a bully. That's why he loved being a cop, because he could bully people. He could, um, that's what I'm saying. Law enforcement officers, you guys want better community relations, act better. Stop being a jerk. And again, like I said, yeah, you're going to have a day off. Or it's going to be a day when something goes wrong. We all have those days. All of us have those days where we go, it's an off day. I don't know. But when you have those days over and over and over and over and over again, there's a pattern. Maybe you need to change.